Yo, what is up? How are we doing? How we vibing? Hope y'all are doing well. We are chilling. Today is a rest day for your boy. Usually I only take one rest day a week. Today is my second rest day in a row. I was having a little bit of joint issues. I was just noticing that my elbow was feeling really raw and I just need to take some time. So I just been chilling, big vibing. Started eating more on my diet. I don't know if you guys remember, but my diet was pretty strict about 2 weeks ago. Was only having 2 meals, quote unquote. The first meal was some eggs, some type of protein, whether it's sausage, hot dog, or turkey, some liquid egg whites, and then I would throw some bread in there, throw some cucumber and tomato, a sizable amount of both. Then I'd make my smoothie about 3 or 4 hours later, which is just spinach, a little bit of cucumber leftovers, my frozen fruit, protein powder, and I started taking 10 grams of creatine instead of the 5 per dose. And it's been working out pretty well. I'm enjoying it. I'm definitely seeing a little bit of more intramuscular water, and since my diet hasn't been as heavy, I'm not depleting my water every other day. So I'm definitely seeing some noticeable difference in size and gains. Gonna have some updates for y'all on that next video. But today I just want to talk about something a little bit different. I tend to compartmentalize myself and what I do and my artistry and my journey and career. So about 2 years ago, I started posting a ton about different social issues and just trying to put anti-establishment media on my feed, just get myself around some content creators that were decentralized from the mainstream media platforms, just get some information from different sources. And I started posting on my stories very consistently. And last year I met someone. She is a career-long activist. She's done it for 10 plus years. She was at Standing Rock and just has a lot of really cool things that she's accomplished and been a part of. So I was really lucky and happy to meet her. She helped me out through a lot of issues that I was having at the time. I don't really talk about it much, but when I first started this journey, I was about 8 months ago, I was in a pretty bad relationship. It was abusive emotionally, and I ended it. A week or so afterwards, I went to set up for the Mermaid Parade in the city, and I met Lolly, and she helped me out a ton. She's a therapist as well, and she gave me a lot of information that I didn't have before, and how to understand emotional abuse and how to understand that there are different types of abuse. Since I was physically, verbally, and emotionally abused as a child, that all tended to have one name, which was just abuse. And so when I found out that there were different types, it became a lot easier to separate it, because previously, since I had such a hard traumatic past, if I was in a relationship that was abusive but wasn't physically abusive, I didn't see it that way, and so I didn't approach those relationships correctly, didn't have the correct trauma mindset in order to deal with it. And so, of course, those relationships imploded. Lolly was there for me when I needed her, and this past couple weeks, she's been very affected by the fires in Pasadena and Altadena. An idea where we could create community leaders and document ourselves allocating resources, skill sharing within communities, and then ultimately organizing different areas by how effective we can be with certain resources given the time and effort we put in. I have been very lucky to be a part of a bunch of different Kickstarters. I have worked with a few up and coming independent creators. And so I have seen the other side of what it takes to start a project from the ground up. And when I went to work in commercial fabrication, I ended up in finish and detailing. So my major skill set for multiple months at a time, I think I worked with them for almost 6 months, was to be able to take any project that had come through that facility, whether it hit woodworking, whether it hit scenic painting, or it hit metalworking. My job was to take it to the end. So I would end up painting, I would end up doing a little bit of woodworking. I never did the metalwork. You have to be certified for that stuff. But I would see the ways that those projects were being developed, and I could have an effective means of communicating what was wrong. And that's a huge skill set, especially when you pair it with the fact that I was working with some of the top creators, top corporations in New York. I worked for LinkedIn, Spotify, Meta, Google, you name it. I had done some work for it. And so I got to see a lot of the other end of the beginning part of this conversation, which was me seeing Kickstarters. I got to see what it was like when they were already fully established multi-million-dollar, multi-billion-dollar companies reaching out for some artwork. And so I had the full spectrum of what it takes to create a project, from idea to reality to, cutting room floor. So I want to use that skill set for good and to help people like Lolly, who isn't as well versed in organizational skills, isn't as well versed in communication and marketing and multimedia, but she's an amazing activist with a bountiful pool of resources, of people who are effective in the fields that she needs. And so we're working together in order to create a more sustainable, long-term guide to create leaders in climate change issues. So we effectively want to be able to spawn community leaders throughout the nation and potentially the world in order to effectively approach climate change. I don't care what your politics are. I don't care what your belief system is. Climate change will affect you. In your lifetime, you will lose your home due to climate change. And that needs to be a reality that every single person in this world, not just America, not just on the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, the world will be affected by climate change. So I want to get ahead of my own issues, because ultimately I cannot help anybody if I am also a climate refugee. So creating this pool of resources, having the ability to say, this person can provide generators, this person can provide land, this person can provide transportation, this person can provide food and water, is a huge help when you see how little the government is doing for us. The government would rather you die and watch your home burn than give you anything. I don't have to convince you of this. You know this to be fact. They want us gone. And it's their fault that we're in this position. It's all of their fault. It's not a single individual on this earth's fault, other than the global corporations that have 80% of all of the responsibility. And since I cannot take them to court, I cannot write litigation, I cannot lobby for change, I cannot do all of the things that the system in power allows for you to do to make changes, what I can do is allocate resources, create community, and find a sustainable way to help people who are impacted by climate change. That's what I'm doing. I want to use my skill set to help many, many people. And even if I just help one, even if it's just my mother, my sister, my brother, who all live in different states, by the way, even if I just help them, I can see a reason to put as much effort as I am. And that's enough for me. Anyways, sorry I haven't been streaming. I'm going to try and get back to it as soon as I move. This location is not the best for streaming. The internet's not that great. There's a whole family, a very young daughter. She just turned 2. The father has work all day, and I don't want to waste his 5 hours of peace on worrying about whether or not my camera is on, if he's going to be recorded saying something, or if his daughter's going to be caught up on camera. So I want to have complete and total control of their privacy, and the only way for me to do that is to record on my own, edit, and upload like that. Now, I just wanted to share a little bit about what I've been up to, a little bit about my activism and my journey in that regard. I just hope you all have a great one, and just remember that you need to find a purpose in order to be fulfilled. Not everyone needs that. Not everyone needs to be fulfilled. But I do, and I found my purpose. I hope that you find yours, and that you find your peace and your happiness genuinely. Best of luck. Deuces. Yo, I'm doing something a little bit different today, and I'm going to add some audio that I won't be able to use the footage for. I had 2 versions of my opening today, and there was some stuff I said that I want to keep while I show you guys some of my art. Hope y'all have a good one. I seem to compartmentalize myself a lot. I just don't share everything about who I am, what I want, and where I think I'm headed. I just don't like sounding braggadocious or as if what I care about is telling people what I'm doing and not just doing it. But at the same time, it ends up in this position where people know certain parts about me but not the full picture. And this is my effort to change that. So I am becoming an activist. I've always been aligned with activist ideology and anarchist ideology, but I didn't really like anarchism. It's fun, like it's a lot like atheism, where it's fun to reject things and say no, I don't think that's true, and prove your point of view in that regard. But I think that's like the easy way out, right? Just saying that nothing should exist or no God is there. That's not the full answer, and nothing easy is ever the full answer. So I think it's somewhere in the middle, like I don't believe that there has been a God that we have depicted accurately. I think that's just, you can throw that out the window. But there is something out there, that some type of sentience that oversees things, maybe to a point where it can't even manipulate or hardly even observe. It'd be like if we tried to pick up a piece of sand out of a desert and tell the difference between each individual granular piece of sand. And with anarchism, it felt the same way. It felt like, okay, I know the government doesn't work. I know I don't like what it does and how it's acted in the history and the violence and the terrorism, the genocide. I don't like any of that. But anarchism is not the opposite of that. It's a half answer. Just nothing. No one rules. Nothing. No standards. No governing bodies. I don't believe that. I don't believe in that. I believe in reform. I don't believe that this government can be reformed. I believe in human reform and in social reform and changing how we interact with each other, and thus changing the way that people interact with the world. And it is really nice to be able to use the skills that corporations in New York taught me, because I was taught marketing through artistry, through my sculpting, through my fabrication, my commercial fabrication. When I worked the job with Kevin Hart, I'll show a picture of my completed project. I made 4 8-foot tall sculptures of crotches in sweatpants. They dick prints. And when I did that job, I was the only sculptor in the building for multiple weeks at a time. And so I was directly in contact with the artists and designers that Kevin Hart hired for the gig. Obviously, he wasn't there. He's got too many things to be worried about. Such a small detail in the huge tour that he was doing. So I got to really see what it's like on the other side of the table, and it was enlightening, it was humbling, but most importantly, it was empowering, because those people listened to me and they valued what I had to say, and my impression of things within my control and how I saw them were just so important, and they took it at face value. And obviously, you know, designers and artists and fabricators, they'll clash, right? The artist and designer wants one thing, and the fabricator can only complete so much, so eventually they're gonna either get together or they're gonna clash. And I managed to navigate that project fairly easily, did a lot of cool stuff with Pink Sparrow in general, became a detail and finisher. And I just want to use those skills that they taught me for good. I know that sounds kind of cheesy and kind of corny, but I've already done it. You know, I worked for a nonprofit for a full year. I contacted sponsors, contacted vendors, contacted pretty much everyone that you could think of, city officials. I contacted schools, I contacted radio shows, and you really get to see what it's like when the world takes you seriously. And I want to be taken seriously. I'm a serious person. I like to have a lot of fun, and I goof off and like to laugh. But I have a lot of passion for making people's lives better. And entertainment, yeah, it's awesome, and this is a great way for me to connect with an audience that might not otherwise see my work. But I need to be impactful. And climate change is an issue that's going to affect every single person watching this video, whether you like it or not. One day you will be a climate refugee. And I hope I have some part in making that transition a little bit easier for even one person. So yeah, that's my spiel today. I'm gonna toss in some Apex clips, toss in some of the stuff that I was talking about, and I just want y'all to have a great one, and remember that life is supposed to be good, and even when it's difficult, it can still be great.